Good evening. This is Arul. I represent an organization called People First. So I guess today the live, which is more a sharing from my side, and if there are any questions we could take in also, it's a subject that is very dear to my heart. A subject that is dear, say, for about 26 years. Two things: the exploration of a white mind, which I will share the history of it, and also applying it at work in the field of recruitment, which I've been involved in for the last 26 years. So here's how I plan to organize the 25, 30 minutes of time. I want to give a little bit of a background so that we set it in context, my entry or the first entry into recruitment, and also a little bit of context of the practices which I have always been involved in. And then for the rest of the time, I want to take very, very practical, real time scenarios in the field of recruitment and share with you how I've been doing this practice. Do consider as one human's exploration into work and also into mindfulness, into self awareness, and one individual's attempt right from the beginning that constantly I wanted to marry work with a deeper pursuit. So, this is the background. So, first, I will introduce our entry into talent hiring and recruitment. So, right from the time I passed from BITS Pilani, which is 1994, I kind of figured out my life purpose, which is I felt that it was around human transformation, helping people, and all that stuff. So, with a great support from my dad, I had the courage to jump into starting my own company, but after a gap of about 6 to 8 months. So Feb 95 or somewhere around that, we started the company. First, I started it as a training entity, but in about a year, I figured out that I wanted another division, and it happened very accidentally. I've shared this example several times to people. I was organizing a training program with another facilitator called Kumar, and he was a very senior facilitator, and we are doing a program on train the trainer and usage of a lot of games and skills. The workshop was attended very well, people from different industries, and it was organized very well. It came out very well. So at the end of it, I still remember a gentleman, a HR manager of one of the auto component companies. I still remember the name of the company. I still remember the name of the gentleman. He approached me and said, Arul, do you also do recruitment? I said, I was frankly looking for a bit more money than what I was getting through training. So I said, I was very frank. I said, not yet, but I would like to give it a shot because you're coming from auto component. I'm an engineer. So he gave me I don't remember that part. It's either a manufacturing or a production manager requirement. And I advertised, I shortlisted people and all that stuff. I even went to their office and presented the profile, and the person got through, and we got the first check. So I said, oh, okay, this recruitment seems very interesting and very simple and easy. So why not jump into it? So I started the company first with myself and then one person. And then that's when I realized that it's not as easy as I see it, and there's many more nuances into it. So People First has been in recruitment for 26 years. So this is the background. So I'll take a little deviation and go to White Mind. We did explore this last Tuesday from a context of learning and development. But in a very simple way, I still remember that I used to visit client places, and I used to travel in a bus at that point of time, and most of the time I carried a book, and here I am carrying a book on what is called mindfulness, and again the practices where breath and being in the movement and stuff like that, and so in a way of speaking, doing some practice started off to me early on. And also I had my life purpose sorted out even at that point of time. It was not just work, it was not just about making more money, it was not just about excelling. While it was all very important, I always felt that there needs to be a deeper value, a much more deeper human connect, a faith in the larger goodness of life, whatever name we call it. And I was involved in one practice or the other. So it is with these two, the marriage of these two, that today's exploration is going to be on White Mind in the context of talent hiring. So, what is white mind? A white mind is a mind which is clear, not hazy, which can see very well, but not biased. And you could say a white mind supports a clear heart, or I've started using this word white mind and pink heart, just as a way of explaining it. So a white mind can see very clearly all the small nuances, but doesn't get biased, which simply means it doesn't take a load of a past frame into it and starts seeing reality through that. Rather, it sees reality as what it is in a very unbiased way, clear way, deep way, and gets insights and inferences in a far more accurate way. This is the, like, if you watched me last week and I'd kind of spoken it in a certain way, now I'm going to apply it in a far more simple way that anybody who's listening and inspired can take it into the real time. So here's the, somebody who walks into a recruitment firm. Let's go, like that. So you look at the mails, and I say right now, we manage an organization, and we have a team of recruiters serving a bunch of customers and all that stuff. So the first activity that goes on in the morning is scheduling. Okay. So I do the scheduling still. Oh, by the way, many people think that, today I'm involved in coaching, I'm involved in learning and development and all that stuff. So there are some people who brand me as, okay, I will more into culture building work, more into L&D work. But the truth of the matter is I'm still involved in talent hiring in a quite a hands-on way even now, working with my team together in many different ways. So the first thing that happens every day morning is scheduling. I frankly believe that this is one of the most important tasks. So we have a bunch of customers and there are a bunch of requirements. All requirements we need to attend to, and many of them have very sharp timelines. Like half a day, 1 day, 2 day. Like today, we spoke to a customer. The requirement came about a month back. We quickly responded in 2 3 days time, but for some reason the customer got very busy for a month. This is a new customer actually, and then we got a call yesterday where the person said, look, I have time only till Friday, because after that I'm going to get busy, so we need to uh, you know uh, look at those candidates we have given, and you need to send new candidates as well. So most of the time we get very sharp timelines. So here's the practice of white mind. Many a time, if I'm sitting in the office and I'm very calm, composed, and I have a clear white mind, there are a few days where I'm off center. And most of the time, when people walk in, they know, okay, they'll say, Arul is not in his great elements today, which means I don't have the white mind. So, what is the difference? Those days when I don't have the white mind is when I'm overwhelmed. There are too many requirements, there are too many client pressures, and I'm sitting and wondering that, hey, will we even be able to handle it, manage it? And somebody comes and I ask my team members, how was the day yesterday? We do have reports and how the earlier day deliveries and all that stuff, but nevertheless I ask them how it was going. And if I don't have a white mind, my mind is not fully listening to them because I'm a little overloaded. How is it I'm going to manage this X number of requirements between these so many people? Those days, my scheduling is not perfect. I make errors. Okay. But those days where I'm very centered, some days the requirements are high, some days it's a little bit average. Uh, some days the delivery has been good, and some days the delivery has not been that great. So, in spite of all that, if I'm concentrating on all the customers, regular customers, new customers, tough requirements, where you have to go and go and go, and in a half day you will get one bio or something of that sort. Yeah, So there are all bunch of these. If I can put my attention on all the customers, all the clients without leaving anything, and so I'll give you examples, very practical examples. So today I was having a thought, there was another new customer who had come, and we have pumped some profiles, but there's been no feedback. So today morning, there was this thought that, are they really going to give feedback? We have so many requirements, should we invest that time? A little bit confusion sets in, and then in that time, you're not able to schedule it very rightly. Of course, we have to do the practical thing, call them up and get feedback and all that stuff. So a white mind is, when I'm doing the scheduling, is one that can concentrate on all customers, all requirements, and feels the pulse. feels the pulse. You cannot do scheduling in a mechanical way. You have to be fully present. You have to be in a flow state. If you're not in a flow state, there will be errors here and there. So you're fully concentrating, and then you feel, okay, this we'll move in the morning, this we'll move in the afternoon, this we can give it for one person, this we can give it for two people. Now, who is that one? Who is that two? We are mapping the customer. For every customer, we have a very dedicated team that works. And at different points of times, we will add in more people so that we vary it. We give the advantage of another new person apart from the regular team. So all that planning has to be done within a time frame of half an hour. In that half an hour, the whole thing is over. The schedules are done, and we do change schedules, but 70 to 80% is set. So here, as I shared last time, one needs to be in practice all the time, all the time, all the time. When? From the time you get up in the morning, in a certain way. And it's not that you're practicing is really not like that. So you wake up in the morning and you check how you are, and maybe you had a little bit of an upset or you had a little bit of a misunderstanding. Set yourself right, keep the mind clear, eat well, exercise well, all parts of different ways of taking care of yourself. Enter into office at the right time, and then I've been amazed by certain people in my office who, the moment they enter, they take a cloth and they wipe the table, wipe the computer. It's almost like a ceremony. That also is a practice of a white mind because it settles you. You've traveled from far, and sometimes you're traveling by local transport or you're coming by your own vehicle. Either way, and the summer is speaking. Settle yourself so that your mind is calm and centered in the white mind. So often I've seen people, doing some small ritual. Ritual doesn't mean like a puja and all that. Even cleaning up the table every day is a ritual. Like the place where I sit and do the schedule, the person beside always comes and does that. And I often keep saying, I really admire, what you're doing. Settle down, white mind. Okay, scheduling over, for example. Now, the next step is when let's say, for example, I'm a recruiter. Let's say my team leader has assigned me a requirement. Now, there's a JD, there's a job description for people who do not know the talent hiring business. Now, when the JD is there, sometimes the customer gives us an additional, few points, or sometimes they ask only to work on the JD. So in our office, the seniors guide, and the people are working also. They go into the JD, and then there's a brief discussion. Okay, what does this position mean, etc., etc. Look at it from multiple different angles. Now, I'll tell you here very practically what a white mind is. Sometimes I've seen people saying that, this requirement, we worked on this 8 months earlier. It is very similar to that, and then they start working. Sometimes they get the profiles accurately. Sometimes they may get the profile like they got 8 months earlier, but the preferentiality of the customer has changed. It could be as simple as male, female, diversity, balance, or different states. Sometimes in a team you want people from different localities of India. There are customers who honor diversity like that also. So you may have got somebody, or even an organization. There are times you cannot hire people from the same organization again and again. You need variety. So if somebody is just going exactly influenced by the past, experience is good. But if you have certain data points that said that this requirement, this is what they look at, so perhaps they're looking at it, maybe 30% true. Maybe the reality has changed. So white mind here means not disregarding the past. You would say that this is what they said. But now let's concentrate very freshly on the JD. Is there any additional point? Is there any nuance the customer has said? Or I deeply concentrate to the requirement and I start feeling the requirement within me. I get some fresh inputs, or a hypothesis, I would say. This is the requirement, maybe these are the. Many people jump straight into the keyword, but prior to that, one needs to deeply understand the requirement with a white mind. So, a white mind is like a mirror. It freshly looks at the requirement, gathers like, okay, these are the 3 key points, not just 3 skills or not just 3 keywords, but these are the key pulse of the requirement, loads that inside their thinking or feeling, and they are now getting ready to work. Okay, now here again, let me get back to the schedule and share how we can practice the white mind. Sometimes what happens is, even between us, we have this feeling that, okay, let's say, for example, there is a transformation position, a process transformation position, or a human or HR center of excellence position, or something that has come, we may have a mild bias forming inside, which means that Bhaskar, Govind, Lakshmi, Priyanka, these are the people who closed the requirement last time, so maybe we should give it to them. While there is intelligence in that, there is data in that. But often I have seen that this is something very, very mysterious I've seen. Many a time, the same person who closed the requirement earlier, sometimes even the customer calls and tells us, sometimes they know, these couple of people who are working will say that that person worked. But many a time I have seen that the same person will go, but this time they'll run dry after a point. And then I will introduce somebody, they'll just come in, they'll crack it and go. This happened once, there was a requirement that was going on once, and we had the same person working, and they had pumped about 10, 12 profiles. And then one day, one person, then another, equally competent person was getting a little difficult on the regular requirements. So I said, look, why don't you just go in and put two bios here? The person put only one bio, the other person had put 12. This person's bio got through. So sometimes it's a matter of luck. Uh, Given that all profiles are good, sometimes it's a matter of what gets through and different situations and all that stuff. So while we may honor the fact that these so competency is important when we are entrusting the requirement to one of our consultants, we need to be double sure that they can work on this customer or client. But beyond that, white mind would mean that I'm curious, I'm open. It may have been closed by Bhaskar. Today it could be closed to Priyanka. Or somebody new may come and close the requirement. So which means a white mind doesn't mean a blank mind. It's not the point. A white mind is very intelligent. It is in the present moment. In the present moment, it is sensing what the customer wants. It is sensing who is able to, at this point of time, come in live and who's going to add value. So we always have dedicated teams, and within that, these nuances. That's the practice of the white mind when it comes to scheduling, when it comes to understanding the JD. So again, once again, understanding the JD every time, look at the JD as if you're looking at it the first time. That doesn't mean we're not gathering our experience. It's going to be there, but concentrate on the JD as if it's come first to you. Really deeply understand it. This process itself is extraordinarily important, not only from a work competency perspective, but also about the joy of working. Any work that we connect and work is joyful, is very inspiring for us. Any work that we do it mechanically is not so inspiring. So this is another example of the white mind. Now, so we start working on the requirement. Okay. Now, what sometimes happens is that um, let's say we are working on the requirement and we see a requirement from this angle and from this angle and from this angle. We're trying to map it into the pulse. What is that? So I'll give you an example. Once there was one of our leading customers. They had a very different requirement, very different, and so they arranged a call. And interestingly, I joined that call and I understood the requirement. Now, they gave the JD and they told us about 2-3 ways of working at it. And then I called a couple of people who were assigned on the requirement and said, let's just brainstorm because it's a whole new requirement. I said, they have given the JD, they have given these 3 ways. But I said, I feel that there are other ways. And I gave 1 or 2 or 3. And I still remember this was like just before the lockdown, a year before the lockdown. We closed a good majority of those positions. I think they had about 8 or 9 or 10. We closed a good majority purely because we went fresh, we went new. Uh, we looked at it very, very deeply with a fresh angle, fresh mind. And even though they said 1, 2, 3 things, we did that and we did other ways of fulfilling it. And that's a white mind, which is ever curious and looking at, okay, they asked for this, but there's a particular kind of customer experience that they had asked for from a technology background. And I said, okay, if this is how they said, maybe these guys will also have, and they had it. We verified it. We showcased it to the customer with those notes that help them to understand what the candidate did. So that's again a practice of a white mind. Now coming to the day-to-day work, let's say I'm working on the requirement and I'm running in trouble. The life of a recruiter, sometimes is frustrating, which I think any recruiter would know. Some days you would go like really you will be banging your head on the wall. You may get profiles, but you may feel that, yeah, I mean, like, should I really send this? Or, and then you will park it and say, let me search for more. So there are days when things fall in place very well. There are days which are very tough. But at the end of the day, we have targets. We have commitments. So at those points of time, a certain disappointment can set in into the experience of a recruiter. You leave work a little bit unhappy, or you feel like, many a time for many a people, work is joy. Many a time, they may have a little up and down at home sometimes. So work becomes a great way for them to become neutral and enjoy life at those times. Or for example, there's another problem I often see now in LinkedIn and other social media. Lots of jokes are made by it. You've really worked hard, you've gone out of the way, to network, to reference and get the candidates, and you followed up very well, and they back out at the last moment. They don't join the customer, and it's no fault of yours. Okay, and you feel so bad, and sometimes you feel like, I really did my best. Why didn't the candidate just be transparent? I'm okay with that. So all those disappointments, frustrations, deplete our energy and cloud our mind. I have often seen people saying, Arul, maybe this customer, I'm not able to support Arul. And I'll turn back and say, why? Then often I'll understand that there is something that is getting loaded inside their head, like a bias, like a perception. Now, if there is truth in it, we need to address it as an organization. For example, once there was one particular customer where feedback was delayed enormously. But that was a genuine point. So we contacted them and we asked them what to do, how to do. They were also frank about certain challenges that we're going through. So we came to some kind of a system, some kind of a reminder mechanism, which worked reasonably very well. So wherever we need to correct, we need to correct. But if there's a certain bias that is forming, tough customer, or very difficult position, I'll turn back and say, so what? Because it is difficult only, they have come to us. So now we should really do it well. So these are the conversations that a leader or a manager need to be able to do with our consultants. And also the consultants can self-manage themselves. And that is a white mind, which means the life of a recruiter is very joyful. And at the same time, it is tough at different points of time, at different moments of the day. Or sometimes it's just a matter of, you missed the bio, which somebody else had picked it up just about a few minutes later or something on this. So this is always the story of a recruiter. Still, I will get upset. I'm working with a goal. I'm getting upset. White mind is gone because you're clouded. How soon can I set myself up? Am I going to take a day, or am I going to take few seconds? The more you can bounce back. I still quote this example many a time. When I was directly, working on requirements quite a lot at one point of time, there was a customer which was ramping up their operations, an international shared services, and they had at least about 10 AVP, VP positions like that. And that was a time when, I was also planning to grow the organization, and we made a commitment to the customer. So I was one of the people who were working on the requirement. I actually closed personally. I validated source, got reference, and I closed about 8 out of the 10. Okay, so I get an written email from the customer, just praising people first. So fantastic. By God's grace, I was sent out. Just about 2 days, 3 days later, I get a news that the entire com structure is changing. They had in people who know com structure, there's a fixed and a variable. The entire com structure was changing, and the variable was getting very loaded. And all these 8 were selected, but the offer didn't roll out. And just at this time, this came. So I got a call, said, Arul, I'm sorry, but we now, whatever we told them, we have to relook at the comp from the new structure and give them. But there is always a comp minimum max, as you know. And so they offered, this to the 8 people, all who were very keen. About 6 or 7 declined. They said, no, this doesn't set us. I think 1 or 2 only accepted. I was down a little bit for sure. I lost my white mind for 4 or 5 days. That's quite a long time. I lost it. And then I said, look, if I am setting this as an example, it's not good. So I went back again. I personally went back and again started work, and almost what we lost, we gained back. That's again a white mind. Always we will get upset, but can we bounce back? Can we bounce back? Hold the attention on the vision in a very neutral way. That comes only by being in the present moment and looking at our goals and our commitments, and the opportunities that are there with reference to whatever we are doing, and really working steady on that. Now, times when we work with a white mind, or we work with a white mind, the day could be very hectic, but you feel rather peaceful at the end of the day. Like today, my work was extraordinarily hectic in many ways, even yesterday, but I'm very peaceful. I may be a little bit tired here and there, very mildly, but beyond that, peaceful. So, uh, normal, challenges are a part of life, but to build a white mind, I think, in my personal opinion, it's not just going to come all by itself unless you are unless you're blessed by grace or whatever. There needs to be a certain aspiration and practice to be centered and calm. Why? You want to work as long as possible. The other day I met somebody. We run another program through our trust called Youth Above 60, and there was one of the participants who's about 54, retired as a manager. uh, in a SQL database. He was doing some work. So we were all sharing our aspirations, and he said his only aspiration is to code till his last breath, and very passionate, very passionate. This is the same thing like a life of a recruiter. It's an awesome work, ups and downs. And I spoke about working, the toughness of a requirement, feedback. Sometimes feedback gets delayed, from the customer, or sometimes the candidate delays document submission. So in all these processes, if I can do some practice of being in the moment, being in the moment, and really aspire to have a white, clear, clean, joyful, centered mind, then work is very interesting. Work as a sadhana, work becomes a way for us to evolve. It is not just transactionally doing the job. We can become really masterful in what we're doing, but not only that, we can evolve as a human. What's the point in doing job very well and getting upset and emotional and going home with a long face just because the work was disappointing that day? We need to bounce back. That's the beauty of practice. That's the art of developing a white mind. All I've shared is exactly a day-to-day the life of a recruiter. And in this case, I've taken the angle of practice, where in the day-to-day work, I've spoken about one particular practice which is important to me and how I do it. If there is any questions on this, you could reach to me privately. I think some of you reach out on the messenger. Or any other comments you can add as you wish. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day, beautiful work, beautiful life. Bye bye.